And then when you were in 2009, I know the game's different now to 97, where it was, well, we saw the midweek matches. Do you know what I mean? The physicality and how old school, I think, is probably a polite way to put it, in the lead up to the test matches. Was there anyone that frightened you in the lead up to that? Because I suppose, and it brings me on to the next question around this squad, when you look at the profile of the team and everything that was said around Alan Wynne-Jones. I know he's injured now, but you know he'd be in his getting off the plane with a Zimmer frame. He's that old and can't do it anymore. But in 2009, when that Lions team came down, was there anyone that? Because I suppose not when you're scared, but when you know up front, where you're like, yeah. When I was up against Bacchus Botha, you know, it made me rise to the challenge and just outperform the man week on week. But
for me, Jim,
was there anyone?
I mean, the thing that sort of doubled up on my nervousness for that and the anxiety for that, it wasn't just being captain, but I'd moved to tight end for the first time in ages. So I was playing out of position, and you know, and it was Andy Sheridan had just beaten us up so many times, like in the scrum for England against South Africa. And I'll be honest with you, there was a large part of me that was relieved when the first test team was announced and Sheridan wasn't starting at loosehead, because I sort of felt like that would have been, you know, a much tougher task for me to face. So I had my eye on him. And then Shorzy was also, you know, Shorzy's been an incredibly influential line. You know, he just seems to bring something different to a pack of forwards. And so when they left him out as well, the first test, that was also, you know, a pretty big relief as well. So, but, you know, every single thing about the Lions is around, and that's the thing, it's about rhythm. How fast can the Lions find a rhythm that suits them to get success? And they actually started picking up some of that rhythm in that first test in Durban. And how quickly can the home team of either South Africa, New Zealand, or Australia get ahead and try and get that first sort of test win? Because that really is what the series, I think, hinges on, is whether or not South Africa can win that first test. Because to go one down against a team that's only going to get better as the series unfolds, as history's shown, is pretty tricky.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the big things that people perhaps aren't looking at yet, but around the test series, as it stands, there's two of them going to be played at altitude, and that will have a massive difference, won't it? Do you think that's a massive advantage to South Africa, even though a lot of the boys are playing over in Europe where they're not used to the altitude? Will they just kick back into it if those games go ahead as planned?
Giddy, you would have noticed. I mean, any game up in the half-file, Pretoria, Joburg, that it's a factor whether you're playing a local derby from Durban or Cape Town, but there's that burn in your throat that you just, it's not something you can prepare for. You know? And
John,
so,
let's remember,
that was my Marlboro Mentos. That's my Marlboro Mentos. Was that what it was? Oh, I thought it was just the quick tap on the way out.
Judy and I, we used to get that feeling in the warm-up.
I'll never forget all the lads told me before my first game up at Joburg. They were like, mate, get a full burn on in the warm-up so you get used to it. And I've started and I've thought, mate, I'd go out for a warm-up, I'll waddle out, I'll do a few kicks, and then I'd do a bit of a team run and jog in. And I tried to do a 50-metre sprint. When I say sprint, it was like a fast, fat shuffle. I was blowing out my arse. I was like, lads, this is me. I can't do much more of this. But yeah, it's a massive factor in it.
It is a factor. I mean, you just look at, if you know, the stats about which stadiums have got the best win rates, and Ellis Park and FNB in Soweto, those two stadiums. I mean, it's very difficult to win there if you're the visiting team. Anyone
in this Lions squad you like the look of, John? I mean, do you watch it or not? I mean, what's the script there? I mean, in the lead up to it, and I know we spoke a few weeks ago, but the kind of romance and the big build up to the tour. But is there anyone that in the media down in South Africa that they're worried about, like Maro Itoje, for example? We'd said that to Ebenezer, and he didn't flinch. Of course he didn't.
I think there's a couple actually, and you know, a lot of the talk here, Jim, is really around, and it's almost like carbon copy of what happened in 09, where it was all based on the fact that the Lions were going to absolutely just destroy us in the scrum because I was playing out of position and Beast was a youngster. And a lot of the talk is around who they're going to choose in the front row, especially on the loose head. So
it's so old school, that is, isn't it? Like, that is such an, I mean, it's a South African thing, isn't it? Because no one here has spoken about who's going to be starting loose head or up front, really. It's all around the wingers, it's all around 10, it's all around the centre. No one is speaking about who the loose head will be. Isn't it like, it just shows you the contrast there? Maybe that's to our demise, maybe.
Well, look, I think it's going to be a massive factor. I don't think that we'll see the kind of result that South Africa were able to get in Tokyo against an English pack. I mean, there was a lot of, I mean, Sinclair going down early. I mean, you can't really plan for that. But a lot of the talk is around what's going to happen up front. And you can see just from what South Africa did on Friday with Georgia, what their focus is currently. You know, they're going in stages, and the first box to tick is set piece, line out drives, being able to drive and obviously stop the drive. But it's, I mean, I'm trying to think if I was Gatlin, it's going to be tricky to pick. I mean, you guys, you help me out here, but he looks like he's undecided at 10, but he's fixed on Faz at 12. So, but it doesn't look
Bundyaki.
like,
Bundyaki might play 12.
Yeah. And then
player physical.
So
Carroll on the bench, maybe.
And again, I mean, they actually looked at Lions backline looked pretty sleek with Finn Russell at 10. In this first outing. So then you've got the problem of your back three. You've got so many good wingers and two fullbacks in that are really in top form. It's tough. I mean, I think Gatlin's got a tougher job selecting and getting selection right, the balance right for the kind of team that he knows will be able to beat South Africa. Whereas Jacques Nienaber and Rassi are probably going to try and get as close to that team from Tokyo 2 years ago as possible.